Hello, Ethan. I won't like you.
Every nanny who took the job in the Whitfield mansion left within a week. One packed her bags at 2 a.m. and never even said goodbye. But when Maria Alvarez walked through those gates, nobody expected her to still be standing there a year later. 5 minutes into her first day, an 8-year-old boy looked her dead in the eyes and said, "You'll be gone by Friday, just like the rest." Maria knelt down, met his eyes, and said the one thing none of the other 17 nannies had ever dared to say. Before we get to what she said, comment 777 below and tell us where you're watching from. Now, let's go back to the beginning. The Whitfield estate sat on 11 acres overlooking the Pacific, marble floors, a private chef, a garage of cars most people only see in magazines. Richard Whitfield had built a logistics empire worth $2 billion from nothing. Everything money could buy, except a functioning household. 17 nannies in 4 years. The longest had lasted 11 days. His name was Ethan, 8 years old, sharp as a blade and furious at the entire world. Asterisk Incident 1, asterisk. A nanny brought in the wrong brand of orange juice. He poured it over her shoes and told her she was fired, like he had the authority. Asterisk Incident 2, asterisk. A tutor gently said no when he demanded to skip his homework. Ethan hid her car keys in the koi pond. Asterisk Incident 3, asterisk. A well-paid, highly credentialed nanny with 2 decades of experience walked out mid-shift. No notice, no severance requested. Just gone. She wouldn't say why. She just kept whispering, "That kid watches everything." The household staff had learned one unspoken rule: never make Ethan angry, and never let him near your phone. Richard Whitfield had lost his wife, Sarah, when Ethan was 4. A car accident on a rainy freeway. He never spoke of it. He simply worked harder, bought more, and gave his son everything, except boundaries. He thought he was protecting Ethan from more pain. He didn't realize he was protecting him from consequences. What Richard didn't know. Ethan remembered more about that night than anyone realized. Maria Alvarez wasn't rich. She'd raised her younger brother after her mother's illness took over their household, and after their father simply stopped coming home. She'd worked 3 jobs through community college. But Maria carried her own weight. 2 years ago, she'd been let go from a nanny position after being blamed for an accident that wasn't her fault. A toddler's fall she didn't cause but couldn't stop. The family never gave her a reference. She hadn't told a single interviewer the real reason she'd left that job. She told herself it didn't matter anymore. It did. Money had never impressed her. She had survived things money couldn't fix. And she was still, quietly, trying to forgive herself for one thing she couldn't undo. She took the Whitfield job not because of the salary, but because the agency told her, "No one else will take this one." She understood, better than anyone, what it felt like to be the one nobody wanted to give a second chance. Ethan expected fear. He got calm instead. When he threatened to have her fired within the hour, Maria simply said, "Okay," and kept unpacking her bag. He tried again, louder this time. She didn't flinch. Confused, he asked why she wasn't scared like the others. "Because I've been afraid of worse things than an 8-year-old, she said. It wasn't performance. Ethan noticed that. That Friday, Ethan smashed a vase his mother had once loved. On purpose, right in front of Maria, daring her to react. The housekeeper froze. The chef froze. Even Richard, who just walked in, froze. Maria looked at Ethan. Asterisk, no. Asterisk, just that. No lecture. No yelling. The room went silent. Ethan had never heard that word land like that before. Over the following days, Ethan tested her every way he knew. 1, he told her she'd never understand people like them. 2, he demanded she do impossible, contradictory tasks just to watch her fail. 3, he insulted her clothes, her car, her accent. 4, he tried to get her fired by lying to his father. Every time, Maria stayed steady, firm but never cruel. The staff began to whisper, "How long can she keep doing this?" But Maria noticed something the others never had. Ethan wasn't just cruel to everyone equally. He was watching her, closely, carefully, like he was studying her for something, like he was waiting to see if she'd lead the way all the others had. Late one night, Maria went looking for Ethan and found his bedroom empty. She followed a thin strip of light to the old study, the room no one was allowed to enter. Ethan sat on the floor, surrounded by a shoebox of old phones. Nanny after Nanny's discarded phone, or copies of their numbers scrawled in a child's handwriting, alongside a notebook. Inside, dates, names, and short notes in careful, obsessive print. Nanny number 12, left after 9 days. Nanny number 14, left after asking about Mom's accident. He'd been secretly tracking every single one, recording which nannies asked questions about his mother, which ones got close to him, which ones he'd managed to scare away before they could find out. Find out what? Maria knelt beside him, and Ethan, for the first time, told her the truth he'd never told his father. The night his mother died, she'd been driving to pick him up early from a birthday party, because he called her, upset over something small, begging her to come get him. She never made it. He had spent 4 years believing, with total 8-year-old certainty, that he'd killed his own mother. Every nanny who got close enough to ask real questions was a threat. Because if anyone figured out the truth, he was terrified they'd tell his father, and his father would finally know it was his fault. The spoiled behavior was never really about power. It was a 4-year-old's guilt, calcified into an 8-year-old's armor. For the first time, Maria didn't see a difficult child. She saw a boy who had been carrying the weight of his mother's death completely alone because he was too afraid to ever say it out loud. And in that moment, Maria's own guilt, the fall she never caused, the family that never forgave her, surfaced too. She recognized this feeling. She'd been carrying a version of it herself. "You didn't kill her," Maria said quietly. A call from a child isn't a crash on a wet freeway. Those are two different things, and it is not your fault that they happen on the same night. Ethan cried for the first time in 4 years. The next morning, Ethan apologized to the chef for a comment he'd made weeks earlier. Small, quiet, almost invisible. The chef nearly dropped a plate in shock. That evening, Maria sat with Ethan on the back steps. "You weren't evil," she said. A pause. "You were hurting, and you were scared of the truth coming out." Another pause. "But being hurt never gives us permission to hurt everyone else. I know that better than most people." Ethan finally asked her what she meant, and for the first time, Maria told someone, a child of all people, about the fall she didn't cause and the family that blamed her anyway. Two people who had each spent years silently convicting themselves of something that wasn't fully their fault. Weeks passed. The house that once echoed with slammed doors now had laughter in it. Staff stopped counting down the days. Ethan started eating dinner at the table instead of alone in his room. He finally told his father, haltingly, about the phone call the night his mother died. Richard didn't get angry. He held his son and told him what he should have said 4 years earlier. It was never his fault. Richard Whitfield, watching his son laugh in the garden for the first time since Sarah died, finally understood. Money couldn't fix what was broken. A person had to be present for that, and someone had to be brave enough to find the real wound instead of just managing the symptoms. He offered Maria triple her salary to stay permanently. She said she'd stay, but not for the money. She didn't fix him, Richard told a friend later. She just refused to leave before she found out what was actually wrong. Everyone else gave up at the surface. Sometimes the loudest behavior is hiding the quietest secret. Real love doesn't remove consequences. It teaches us to face them, and sometimes it means having the courage to ask why, when everyone else has already walked away. Sometimes the person brave enough to stay is the one who understands, better than anyone, what it costs to be forgiven,